Hey, Mike here. In the more modern world, the English chemist Sir William Crookes, who lived from 1832 to 1919, invented a device in the 1870s which we now call the Crookes tube, and he invented it for the purpose of studying gases and their properties, which fascinated him. This was an early experimental electrical discharge tube containing an electrode, two electrodes, a cathode and an anode, and they were put in a partial vacuum. This was designed to investigate the properties of cathode rays, which led to important discoveries in the fields of physics and electromagnetism. Now, if you're old enough to remember using a CRT television, that's a cathode ray television, the Crookes tube device was basically the basis of that. Using magnets and electrostatic plates, you can form images on a phosphorus screen using a cathode ray and controlling its path by rapidly scanning across the screen. In addition to being the basis of the modern display technology, it also produced X-rays, which developed into medical imaging technology, which has saved many lives. Then, Lee DeFrost introduced the grid to the diode structure, forming the first triode around 1906. This modification marked a significant advancement in electronic technology and contributed to the development of the amplification in electronic circuits. He called his triode device the Autotron, using it to amplify weak electrical signals into larger ones for use in radio and telephone applications. Now, as you probably already figured out, a triode serves the same function as a modern transistor. And when you get a few hundred of them, or today a few billion transistors together, you get the computer. In fact, the first vacuum tube technology used for calculations was the Atanasoff-Berry computer, or the ABC computer, created by John Atanasoff and Clifford Berry in the 1930s, and the project went on to the 1940s. This computer utilized vacuum tubes and turned them into electronic switches to perform binary calculations, just like a modern computer would. While the ABC was not a fully functional or programmable device like modern computers, it laid the groundwork for the development of electronic computing technology. The simple Crookes tube grew from an experimental device to a working computer in just 60 years. And since the 1930s, it has grown exponentially to the point of being capable of processing artificial intelligence. So why am I talking about computer technology from the 1800s and 1900s on a channel dedicated to decoding the pre-flood world? Well, because no, that was not the first time this technology was discovered. There are ancient depictions of a Crookes tube-like device carved in Egypt, and it was carved by the ancient Kemetans, who were apparently giants who predated the pharaohs. Consider how I always say the Nephilim ruled this world toward the end of the pre-flood era. Have you seen this image? You can see a transparent tube connected by a cable emitting a serpent, which was an ancient symbol of power. And there's even a third individual under it in prayer, symbolizing the sending of a signal into the device to control output. And you can see a slight curve and a fattening of the serpent heading toward the output, which is being deflected by metal plates, showed as knives in this image, controlled by a weird wingless reptilian creature, which might be something else to visit. It's interesting to see a giant working with a reptilian creature to work on advanced electronic equipment that is depicted as being literally above humans. Am I suggesting that the ancient Egyptians had computers, medical imaging devices, and radios? No, not necessarily. And I don't believe that this image is a simple depiction of a light bulb either, like many call it. In fact, there's no evidence of high technology in ancient Egypt at all, except for a couple batteries for electroplating. But they did have a lot of knowledge. I suggest that this was carved shortly after the flood to preserve knowledge of the technologies that existed before the flood wiped out all life on Earth. Essentially a reset for civilization. Some could say that this myth could have been carved around the creation myth that's on this image around it could have been carved sometime after to explain events in the image that were no longer understood by the Egyptian priests or scribes. However, the story happens to mirror the Greek account of Atlantis, which Plato actually said he heard from Solon, who got it from Egyptian priests. The text surrounding it also mentions knowledge that and how it can be abused and must be protected. Given that I've already covered pretty much everything about Atlantis, the giants are likely a reference to the Nephilim, who possess the technology given to them by the fallen angels, as they would have had more access to these fallen angels, who were depicted here as the large reptilian creatures who lost their wings after choosing to abandon God. And they are the ones who had the computers, medical imaging devices, radios, and plenty of other technology. The ancient Egyptians were simply preserving this impressive knowledge. But where did they get this knowledge from? Well, you have to ask the Greek statesman Solon, or watch my video where I talk about Atlantis, which I will put in the description here. So how do I explain the lack of soot on the ceiling of Egyptian tombs? Well, even ants, the little bugs, have mastered chemical lighting, which is a possibility, but it's more likely, given the inscription in Egypt, that I would suspect some kind of smokeless fuel for torches or other lighting methods. We have this today, like a gel that can burn and does not produce smoke. They could have easily created this. In fact, the ancient name of Egypt, Kemet, is where the modern word chemistry comes from. So let me know down in the comments what you think about this. Do you agree? Or do you have other ideas? Either way, you made it this far. So go ahead and like and subscribe to see more in the future. And have a nice day.